So, speaking about, how Americans are they're the most propaganda. I say Americans are the most propagandized people in the world, and they don't know it, right? At least in the old Soviet Union, when somebody saw something on the news or read it in the paper, they knew it was probably propaganda. Same thing in China. But in America, people literally think that Lawrence O'Donnell and Jake Tapper and Laura Ingraham are telling you the truth. It's just mind-blowing to me. I just went to a couple of Christmas parties, and it was like watching a wind-up cartoon doll of people just repeat propaganda back to me, whether it was about Fauci, I was talking to a guy, he just got his booster last week. He just got his booster.
He has 8? He has all 8?
I'm guessing he does.
I don't know anybody who catches them all.
Okay. Anyway, and so that's it. And so just to speak to this, now I used to be a big fan of Bill Maher's. And so Bill Maher recently said that, now it's been clear to me since I started doing this show that Bill Maher is ignorant on purpose, right? Either he's mind controlled or he's ignorant on purpose. Because it's just so obvious. Again, if I have access to this information, a guy who works at HBO with $1 million staff, he also has access to this information, and he's either mind controlled or... So listen to what Roseanne asked him this question. This is very interesting.
No wonder I don't remember this.
No shit, you blocked it out, MK Ultra.
Who's that?
Bill Maher doesn't know who's that... And I don't think that's a joke. I think he's... Do you mean Martin Luther King Ultra? Is that what he thinks? It's unbelievable. Can you believe he pretends not to know what MK Ultra is? Or do you think he really doesn't know? Or do you think he's actually a victim of it?
I think Bill Maher is lying there. He also said he doesn't know who Klaus Schwab is, I think, in the same interview.
Yes, here, let me play it. Here it is.
That's the mind control program you're under, Bill.
MK Ultra?
Yeah.
So who's Klaus Schwab?
The head of the WEF.
What's that?
This is mind-blowing to me. He doesn't know who the people are. He doesn't know what MK...
Yuval Harari
So
the Igor of Klaus Schwab.
So not long ago, Bill had on someone named Bella Thorne on his podcast, and she was offended because he mocked her pronouns. So who the fuck is Bella Thorne? She's a 26-year-old actress who, unlike Klaus Schwab, the WEF, MK Ultra, that's someone who Bill actually has heard of. So he's heard of some no-name actress nobody's ever heard of, but he's never heard of MK Ultra, WEF, or Klaus Schwab. Boy, he is the smartest guy in the room as long as the room is filled with dumb shit libs. Am I right?
Well, that's right. And now he's trying to act like he's more populist because he knows people are waking up. Look, he's not stupid. We know Leonardo DiCaprio and hundreds of movie stars get paid to go to the WEF, flown on private jets. I bet a lot of money, I don't know this for a fact, that he's been invited to the World Economic Forum. It's all over the news. It's massive coverage during their events. And I mean, people knew who it was 20 years ago. They certainly knew 10 years ago. And then in the last 3, 4, the liberty movement, the populist movement it trends on, Twitter every week. It's all over the place. So I don't believe that he doesn't know what MK Ultra is. I mean, even History Channel and Discovery Channel have had hundreds of programs, literally since it's been on for 40 years, 35 years. I mean, I've seen 50 programs. I don't even watch a lot of TV about MK Ultra. It's on PBS. Dr. Ewing Cameron in Canada, over 10,000 kids over 30 years taken from foster homes and stuff and electroshocked and given drugs and programmed into new personalities. And they had congressional hearings on it in the 90s and the 2000s and in 1977. And he doesn't know about MK Ultra that Theodore Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was in. LA Times, Alexander Cockburn looked that up. So I don't believe, no, he's playing dumb because he knows these are the things you don't talk about.
I mean, come on. If the WEF and Klaus Schwab were real, I'm sure Bill Maher would have heard about it.
I don't believe in nonsense.
By the way, Jimmy, that's the old tactic. Just 10 years ago, they would have New York Times articles saying Alex Jones feverishly was having a schizoid event in Virginia outside a hotel conference center, imagining there were men with sunglasses and helicopters. Meanwhile, The King of Spain's there, the head of the Defense Department, Henry Kissinger, world leaders. They had Marines on top of the building with State Department security, literal black helicopters we got video of. Okay, it's in my film Endgame and others. And then the New York Times reviewed a film I was in called The New World Order and said it did not exist. Now, by then, the Bilderberg Group was set up after World War II between what was left of the Nazis and the UK and America to kind of reconstitute Europe and the Marshall Plan. Their own documents been released by the Congressional Records Office. This is an official group, but they wouldn't cover it, and they would say it wasn't real, even though the Bilderberg Group, as of 15 years ago, went public, started putting out press releases about who would be there, but that it's secret, okay? So even 5 years after they're publicly admitting they exist and putting out where they're going to meet, the New York Times was saying it does not exist.
So, yeah, I mean, I always, again, when I was, they made it seem like if you talked about the Bilderberg Group, you were some conspiracy, crazy tinfoil hat person.
There is no mafia.
And now, right, there is no, right. Hey, the first rule of MK Ultra is there is no MK Ultra. Am I right? And so I don't think Bill Maher is controlled by the CIA. I think he's controlled by another 3-letter organization. It's called HBO.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
He does sound like Hannity when he's asked about Bilderberg.
Oh.
Sean Hannity, watch him play dumb.
Oh, he plays dumb too?
Oh, yeah.
But now I know.
He always plays dumb.
So the Bilderbergs had a meeting in Washington, D.C. It was maybe a year or two ago. And Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone went and covered it. And that's how I know for sure it's for a real thing. And he documented the people who were there and the people who were coming in and out.
Yeah, they meet 3 years in 3 years in a row in Europe, and then every 4th year they meet in Chantilly, Virginia, at this. Usually they meet at like 5-star places. This place is nice. I've stayed there before they got in there, but it's like a 4-star giant conference center surrounded by defense contractors, Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. I mean, literally, it's a conference center with a golf course so they can play golf because they play golf the 4th day.
Plenty of hookers,
like
I'm sure.
Day. And it's surrounded, but something your co-host, everything he says is key. Notice he said, the mafia doesn't exist. And that's the parallel I use with this.
Yeah.
It was until the mid-1950s, Congress and J. Edgar Hoover, who was being blackmailed by the FBI over his cross-dressing, that's come out, he would testify to Congress, J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI, look this up, I'm sure you guys know a lot of history, so you know about it, that La Cosa Nostra and the mafia was a myth, and that there was not an Italian mafia. Of course, we now know there's mafias in all groups. And it wasn't until some rogue FBI agents planted a bug in a farmhouse, remember in Connecticut, I think it was?
Yep.
And they caught like the 15 mob heads, like in The Godfather, in this big palatial farmhouse, meeting around this big table, carving up the country. And then suddenly we all know the Italians have a mafia. I mean, it's the same thing. But they don't want us to know there's a global BlackRock corporate mafia that wants to control the world, that cloaks itself in liberalism and wokeism to give them political cover while they drive us into World War III, devalue our currencies, and just destroy us.
Come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're going to Europe. Do you live in Europe? We're going to be there. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.